Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and for the last week I've been driving the 2026 Lexus IS350. Up front is a 3.5 liter V6, and down below is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now I'm super excited to be making this video here today because I've spent the last week driving the IS350, and it is facelifted for the 2026 model year. So this is what it looked like previously, and this is what it looks like now. Now there are some big changes that we'll talk about here in a second, but this product is getting kind of old, and I'm here to tell you today why I think that's actually a very good thing. Now this is still technically the third generation of the IS, which started in 2013. This is its 13th model year. We are equidistant from the start of this generation, as the start of this generation was from the 90s. So that's pretty wild. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 3.5 liter V6. Well, it makes 311 horsepower and is the 2GR FKS. Now the 2GR family, although they've had different endings to the name and different revisions, the 2GR I personally believe is Toyota's best engine. They've used it for decades. It's solid, it's reliable, it makes good power. And while it's not wowing anyone, it's not blowing up dyno sheets and things like that, it's very solid, very reliable, and I trust this engine to go 200,000 miles at the absolute bare minimum. And that is one of the good things about this car being facelifted, but not a new generation. And we'll talk about that towards the end of the video, but that engine is certainly something special. Now, unfortunately, the 5-liter V8 is no longer offered. So for the 2026 model year, Lexus has killed the IS500. Now, that's mainly because they're not making the 5-liter V8 anymore. The LC500 is also going away, which I believe was the last vehicle to hold that engine. And so it didn't really make sense. Also, year over year, they offered that car from 2021 to 2025. Less than 1,000 people bought them a year. So it wasn't really a high volume vehicle. They weren't making really any money on it, so they killed it. So the 3.5 liter is the only engine available. However, it is not a 4-cylinder, so I'll take what I can get. Like I said, paired to it is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now, something interesting to note, this is the all-wheel drive model, so it gets the 6-speed, but the rear-wheel drive model gets an 8-speed automatic. Kind of an interesting distinction there. As I alluded to, it is all-wheel drive, which I love. You can find these in rear-wheel drive, which I also love. How does it feel to drive the IS350? It's great. I really enjoy the driving experience. That V6 is not the most powerful thing in the world, but it's happy, and it makes enough torque, and it sounds decent high up in the rev range. Visibility is good. It does have a sportiness to it. So if you're looking for something that just dips its toe into the sports car world, this is a great car for that. You're going to be able to get on a highway on-ramp and feel like Speed Racer for 30 seconds, and then that's it. You're not going to be tearing up track days. You're not going to be getting world records at Great Lakes Dragway. You're not going to be setting down crazy lap times, but it is an enjoyable experience at the end of the day, and that's all you want. You know, it's a sports sedan light, you know? And I personally like that. You know, I don't need a sports car every waking moment of the day. I enjoy that, but I don't need it. And so if you're in that same boat, I think this is a pretty good option for you. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a completely digital gauge cluster, and I think this is actually pretty easy to read. Everything is laid out pretty well. The warning lights are withheld to the bottom right of the screen, which I think is really helpful. They're not blaring or muddying up the experience. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our selectors for that gauge cluster screen, as well as our volume and voice commands. And off to the right, we have adaptive cruise and skip track. Adaptive cruise was very, very good. However, this car does have automatic braking. And so if you're just cruising around, it will start braking for you, which I found to be a little bit annoying. The Toyota Land Cruiser also does this automatically, and it makes more sense in a vehicle like that. this is more of a driver's car. You would think owners of this would be a little bit more attentive and brake for themselves, so that was kind of annoying. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent, and this climate control vent is a very big deal because Lexus themselves told me when I was visiting them in San Diego in May that this vent is part for part the same vent found in the new Toyota GR GT. So I have now reviewed 1% of the new GR GT. They made a big point of that. It's not a big deal, but I thought it was interesting. Down below that, we have our gauge dimmer switch, trip odometer reset, and our camera view button, as well as our hood release and trunk release. And moving on to the door, we have the latch you get in and out, power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Moving into the center, we get our bigger infotainment. This is a huge upgrade here for the IS and comes with that facelift. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. They didn't add any like crazy features or apps or anything in the infotainment. However, I think it works well and just helps modernize the interior of this car, which it definitely could need given the fact of how old it is. But with that, we have two new climate control vents, hazard switch, and our climate controls down below. Love the fact that these are physical buttons. They are not hidden within the screen. I think Lexus is starting to learn that we don't like that, and so they're keeping it here for these redesigned vehicles, which I love. We have two USB-Cs, a little bit of mood lighting, and a wireless charger. And moving into the center, we have the same shifter that they've been using since the 90s. This jigsaw-style shifter. Very odd, but it works. We have our volume scroller. This is all brand new. Heated seats and our drive modes off to the right for Eco, Normal, and Sport. We also have a snow mode and our traction control off mode. And then we have our cup holders, so we will do a big freaking bottle test, and it fails that. However, it does fit my little Picari sweat can pretty well. Center console has a 12-volt outlet in it and the seats. The seats are heated, they are comfortable, and I haven't had much issue fitting in them. I do like the sort of tan brown interior look this car has. I like it in contrast with the exterior. Overall, I think it's handsome. It's been good enough. And I've driven this car about 230 miles, and I never felt like my back really hurt in it. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, getting in the back of the Lexus IS, the big friggin' bottle has made its way back here, decapitated, by the way. But stepping in, closing the door, it's not great. My knees are hitting the seat in front of me. My head is hitting the ceiling. The IS is a small car. I would really compare this to like a BMW 2 Series. I think there were times where the IS could have competed with the 3 Series from BMW, but size-wise, this is 2 Series. Back seats are absolutely if you need them seats. Cousin flies into town, pick him up at the airport with him and his wife, go about your day. You could fit someone back here, some luggage, whatever, but if you depend on your back seats, if you have a family of 3, this isn't the car for you. Maybe if you have another car, you could, get them to practice and whatnot, and this is for you going to the office, going to the yard, going to whatever, then yeah, that makes sense. And you could bring 1 or 2 of the kids with you. If they're still young, you could bring all 3 with you. But this is not a family vehicle. This is an individual vehicle. And so that's the sort of thing that you're dealing with back here. Besides the big friggin' bottle, I do love this sort of caramel interior. There's almost peanut butter interior. I guess peanut butter is a better descriptor. We do have 2 USB-Cs back here as well, venting. And we can pull this down. We do have some pop-out cup holders, which are very, very nice. However, I don't think that there's actually storage in here. So it's just kind of an armrest past that. We have some lights up here. Very nice. But again, I don't really fit all that well back here. Let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, coming around the back of the IS350, there's a button right there, kind of a little bit to the right of the X on Lexus. And once we are back here, pretty standard trunk, nothing too crazy to note here. We do have some tie downs in the Lexus first aid kit, which is pretty cool. However, pop this open. We do have a spare tire, which actually smells like a spare tire. It smells like tire. It really reminds me of like Pet Boys going there as a kid. But there you go. That is the trunk. Again, like the back seats, not a whole ton of space around the back. Is it enough to fit your golf clubs in? 100%. Is this what I would want moving in and out of a new apartment? Not quite, but that's okay. So come right up here. You do get this handle right here. And there you go. That's the trunk of the IS350. Now we got to talk about the looks. And this, again, was facelifted for the 2026 model year. The front fascia is the biggest change. The rear fascia isn't really changed all that much. But again, it's just a healthy refresh for this car. I think it looks fresher and modern. I think it looks like a next generation. Lexus told me this is the next generation, but it actually isn't. The chassis is still the same. And so it looks new, it looks fresh, but it actually has old bones. And I think that's a good thing. And I think it's handsome. I think it fits in with 2026 traffic pretty well. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving this Lexus IS350 for the last week? Well, it's mostly green lights. The only thing that really bothered me is the actual driver compartment is a little bit narrow. With that all-wheel drive system, that bulge, there were a few times where I was like, this does feel like a little bit of a small car. And that's okay if that's what you want. I believe I in IS stands for individual. What I was told is that it stands for individual sedan, so it's kind of like a personal sedan. But either way, that was my only main gripe. I think it drives great. I think the updated tech is wonderful, and I have that very reliable stout powertrain. I could buy this off the dealer lot today and not worry about if it's going to crap out on me in 5 days or 5 years. This is a proven test. It's like that safe food when you go and travel that you know won't give you food poisoning because you don't want to ruin your trip. That's what this car is to me. I know it's a safe bet. I know I could drive this car any day of the week and I'm not going to be having to run to a bathroom unexpectedly. And it's true. This car is dated. The bones of this car are old. But again, I actually think that that's a big benefit because there's no uncertainty. And I hope that Lexus keeps making this. I like this generation of car because the alternative is twofold. Either they chuck the 4-cylinder hybrid into this that they've been putting into everything. The new ES has the 4-cylinder hybrid. The new Camry has the 4-cylinder hybrid. And although that isn't a longitudinally mounted engine, so if they wanted to do a rear-wheel drive car like this, it might be a little bit tricky. That's this car's probable future. It will probably get the 4-cylinder turbo or the 4-cylinder hybrid or 4-cylinder hybrid turbo in a couple of years. And then it's not going to be fun to drive. I've driven it in the ES. I've driven it in the Camry. I don't love it, but that's probably this car's fate. The other alternative to not keeping this old car around is to just not have it, to not offer it at all. The way the world is going, they're not going to chuck a big engine into it. They're not going to do a forced induction version. They're not going to do all these things. The sedan segment is already dying as it is, so this car, I just want to appreciate that we still get. This is still offered. You could go to your Lexus dealer down the street today and go buy one of these. And I don't know if that's going to last forever. I'm sure at some point there's going to be a video where I say, goodbye Lexus IS. I had to do it with the LS. I had to do it with the LC. I had to do it with the old gas ES. And so I'm happy that it's here. I'm happy that you're here. Because even your worst day on earth is better than a day of nothing, a day of the void, a day of just blackness, a day of just darkness with no light. Even the worst day hanging out here on planet Earth is better than nothing. And that's how I feel about this car. I'm happy that it's still around. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Lexus for letting me borrow their IS350 for the last week. Huge thank you to Drive Shop for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of this vehicle. And of course, the Midwest Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.